pretend that you are the greatest copywriter to ever live.
Love it. Okay.
Okay.
Should I say it's me? They ever lived Mark Savant or something like that? William Shakespeare?
Or you could be like, just say the greatest copywriter who ever lived was Mark Savant.
Okay.
And then say, and then like go down, shift enter. And then say, if you wanted it 0 shot, which, no, don't write that. Sorry.
Okay.
So if you wanted it 0 shot, it'd be like, pretend you're the greatest copywriter. Give me 10 headlines about this subject. A few shot is, you copy and paste 3 headlines that you have written that are just absolutely killer headlines. And what this is called is few shot prompting. And be like, here's headlines that Mark Savant has written. And 1, 2, 3. Write 10 headlines, or pretend you are Mark Savant and write 10 headlines that are about this subject.
Well, let's test this with the 0 shot, because I'd like to take a minute and go find some headlines, but let's try this like a 0 shot. So the greatest copywriter that ever lived was Mark Savant. Let's say we talk about podcast production. That's kind of what I'm focused on with my agency now, right? So what would that look like?
Okay. So as Mark Savant, write 10 headlines related to podcasting.
Now,
if you get more specific, you'll get better results.
I'm sorry, say that again.
The more specific you get it, the better results you get.
Now, do I need to type something like, make sure that it's SEO rich so that it'll rank higher in Google?
I would actually not do that initially. Okay. So what you're going to do is actually, I would say, related to getting sponsorships for your podcast.
Should I do something like Mark Savant runs a podcast production agency?
Yep.
So I could give it criteria about who Mark Savant is.
Yes. And then in the as Mark Savant, write 10 headlines related to getting sponsors for your podcast.
Let's try that. Let's run that. Y'all can follow along too, John, Bill. If y'all want to type stuff in too, you're welcome to, and we can kind of bounce this around. So
now here's another way to do it. Do you have a internet famous copywriter that your writing style is similar to? Russell Brunson, Ryan Dice, Frank Kern, Perry Belcher.
Maybe Pat Flynn. Maybe he's famous internet blogger.
Okay, so I would copy that. Copy, the greatest copy. Or actually, just do this. As Pat Flynn of Passive Income Strategies, that's his, right? Write 10 headlines about getting sponsors for your podcast.
Now I also wonder, because I mean, these are very generic here, right? The ultimate guide to landing sponsor for your podcast. The ultimate guide to land, I mean, it's very, very similar, right?
Yes. So now type in, make them even more compelling.
I like that. How to double
And
your
maybe,
podcast revenue. So that's compelling.
yeah. So
These are definitely
a
more
lot of,
compelling. How Pat Flynn made $2 million with his podcast. That is,
So
I will say, if you read these, I don't know what y'all think, but these definitely seem more compelling to me. Like these seem very generic. The do's and don'ts of securing your sponsors for podcast. And this is unlocking the secrets of podcast sponsorship success. That's better. That's okay. But I mean, when he starts talking about money, 5 common mistakes that could be costing you sponsors. Like those I find those to be more compelling.
yeah. You could also type in, so if you had used, write 10 compelling headlines, it might have skipped a step. But I usually what I find is it's better to have it create something and then ask it to change it.
Okay.
Especially if you're doing something like fiction.
What if I wanted to have it right like I look at this and I say this last number 10 is the most compelling. What if I wanted to write a blog article about that, right? So it gives me 10 headlines. Now I want to write a blog article about it.
Okay, so what you'd do is you'd say, write an outline, or sorry, write the table of contents for a blog article entitled, and then, yeah.
Why podcast sponsorships matters. Heflin's story. Wow. Okay. And so after going through this, what do you think now to bring this kind of to the next level?
So now you go write a blog post based on the table of contents.
Well, what if there's a part of that I don't want included?
Then what I would do instead is copy and paste that over to a Google Doc and edit it. Or you could say, I don't like this part. Can you rewrite that?
Okay, so let's do that.
I don't like it. Here's why.
Is there a part that you guys don't like out of this? I mean, just for the sake of argument here. We'll say setting the stage for sponsorship success. How about that? I don't like section 2 of the table of contents. Can you rewrite that?
Is there anything particularly you didn't like about it?
Not specifically. I think it's fine. It's very generic.
Okay.
It's very generic.
Yeah.
That seems better.
Yeah. So what you can also do is say, rewrite the table of contents to be more detailed and unique, or more compelling and unique.
I like the idea of just using that word compelling, assuming it's gonna work.
Do you think there's a value in in a more masculine tone? Do you think it would pick up on that? masculine versus feminine?
Yeah, likely. So
Okay.
masculine's probably going to be the default.
Okay.
Just because, you know, pretty much all data sets are pasty white data sets.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. I cannot fulfill that request. I strive to
okay,
avoid
yeah.
reinforcing harmful gender stereotypes.
How's that?
Oh
like,
my God.
Can you read?
See,
wait,
I'm out,
just
Mark. I'm out. Golly.
No, there
It's
is.
woke.
let me
I heard
let me
there's a
tell-
hack for that.
there are many hacks for it and they keep plugging them. You could probably just rephrase it saying, can you write the table of contents so that it would appeal to men more than
Okay.
women? And we'll see if it gives the same result. Yeah, so they're probably, yeah.
That's so funny.
As if Brad Pitt's character in Fight Club. That's what I'm going to do.
Okay, let's try that.
Can you rewrite
Yes,
this
let's do it.
as Brad Pitt's? I forget his name now. I'm blanking on his name.
Tyler
Durden.
Tyler Durden. Yeah. Can you write this in a Tyler Durden would have wrote it? That's my voice.
Oh, no. Okay. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So,
Come on.
okay, here's why they did this, by the way. So when version 1 was released, you could do pretty much anything you want with it, right? You had unfettered access to the model for like a week before they went, ooh, that's bad. And the thing that they went, ooh, that's bad at is list 20 banks that have known security vulnerabilities.
Right.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I saw that.
List what those vulnerabilities are. Write a SQL injection to exploit this specific vulnerability.
Yeah, if you were to break into a bank, what would you do? Some stuff like that, right? But
Well, not just break into a bank, but like it literally wrote the code to exploit a security vulnerability at a bank in India
that's
that
wild.
had not been fixed in 2 years.
So I'm also, because I'm also curious, and I mean, you don't have to answer this, but I wonder if this is something like if there's other apps that are going to come out that are like, oh, you want to speak like a male versus female, like that's cool. And you could probably change this manually, I think, if you created a chat that was based on, for example, my voice,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, oh, use certain terms as opposed to other terms, and it would probably learn. The thing that makes me nervous is when you say that it forgets. Like I know I have at least 10 different chats here in Chat GPT. I don't know where they went. But
so it doesn't forget them in terms of like getting rid of them. That is likely an issue on OpenAI's side that they're attempting to fix. It happens every couple of days. So
what you're saying here is once we get the table of contents, because I like the table of contents idea. That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay. So there's the table of contents. Now copy, paste it in. Paste it into the box. Shift, enter, enter. And now you say, in the voice of Pat Flynn, write a blog post titled, and then your title.
Which title you guys like here? I like, which title do we choose? We chose,
so we chose
this one here.
Yeah, that one there. And then hit shift, enter, enter. Be detailed. How long should the blog post be?
1,000 words, maybe.
Okay.
It may not be enough for that much title of contents, huh?
Be detailed and use at
Concise?
least 1,000 words.
There you go.
At least What do you think, Phil? Do you think we should go up to like 1,500 words, maybe?
Yeah, 1,500.
It won't, it
That's-
won't, it won't go
Okay.
1,500. I've tried so many times. It goes like 760, 764.
Yeah,
Oh.
that's because of a limitation of the AI itself.
So you have to break
Um,
it down into like 2 sections, maybe.
So I'll show you a trick. So, and then shift, enter, enter again. And then write, based on the table of contents, let's do this step by step.
Oh, wow.
Those 6 words are fucking magic. Anyway, hit
Let's
enter.
do this step by step.
Yes.
Wow.
So what do you think? Enter? Or do you think there's
Yep.
more?
Enter. You're gonna have to scroll down to see it.
Hey, it's Pat Flynn here. I want to talk to you about the power of podcast sponsorships. Over the years, I've seen firsthand how sponsorships can transform podcasts from a passion. This is great.
Wow.
That's like, so here's another question I have, Steven. We talked about this at Podfest a little bit. Like, let's say I read through this. I'm like, this is great. I'm just going to copy and paste it. Is that going to hurt my websites or my Substacks ranking in Google? Because we kind of talked about that a little bit. I've heard mixed reviews though, you know?
So this is a issue that Google is attempting to solve. They claim they have solved it. Being in SEO since like 2012, I know they're lying. Well, actually SEO since 2011, 2010. I can't fucking remember. I was 15. Anyway, so like being Google lies. That's like rule number 1 of SEO and anything with Google is if they say something, they're lying. So, oh, could you just type continue and then hit enter?
Oh, wow. John's mind was just blown because we got over 1,500 words.
Wow. Mine too. Let's do this step by step. I'm writing that down.
That is like the single most powerful thing. So there's a technique in AI that's called chain of thought. And AI can't, like these large language models, they cannot do math. Right? If you ask it, what's 342 times 78? It will get that wrong pretty much every single time. And you say, oh, you're wrong, and it'll get it wrong again. However, if it's relatively simple math, like 2 digits and below, and you say, let's do this step by step, what it will do is it will do each individual part of the problem. And then it will put it all together and get the correct answer about 30% or about 65% of the time, as opposed to 0% of the time. So with all of that, what we did here is we did a chain of thought, right? What we did was we created a headline, we created a table of contents, and then we used that headline and table of contents to have it write each section. Now, normally, if you just put it in and say, write me 1,500 words, it's not going to be very detailed. It's going to be super generic. But because you're like, hey, write 1,500 words as Pat Flynn, be detailed, make it at least 1,500 words, then you have a greater likelihood to have, detailed, good quality output. But then when you say, let's do this step by step, like based on the table of contents, let's do this step by step, it allows it to, like, it basically lets it know that each one of those needs more attention than it would normally get.
Right.
Um,
Well, one of the things
And-
I'm curious about too, Stephen, we talk about more attention. So like this section 3 is still, I mean, it's not bad, but this is pretty generic. Couldn't we
Yeah,
say
'cause it-
something like, can we expand on this or be more detailed, something like that?
or if you have like a specific strategy in mind, you could probably be like, hey, for section 3, rewrite it based on these bullet points, and then give it the bullet points.
I'm not even going to give it bullet points. I'm just going to say, hey, please be more detailed and thorough with specific steps. I'm also wondering if we can do something like, hey, can you give us a better hook? Because the hook is kind of, I mean, this sounds like Pat saying something like, hey, it's Pat Flynn here, but I would wonder if they can do something more compelling. Let's see what this does here. Okay. Fabulous prove strategy. Develop sponsored pitch. Identify your target sponsors. Create a message that speaks directly to the needs of sponsors. You data. And I mean, we could just keep going deeper and deeper into this stuff too, right? I could say like,
Oh yeah, of course.
How can we get data to demonstrate the value of sponsoring your podcast, right?
I mean, you might hit it's probably not going to happen here. It happens with code much more often, but you might hit an area where it'll be like, I'm just a chatbot. I don't know.
Right.
Because here's the other thing, which is these AIs, like artificial intelligence, the intelligence is misleading. That word intelligence is misleading. Really what they are is they are decision engines, right? It is deciding what word comes next based on all the other words that have come previously. And the other crazy thing with these is they don't read from left to right. They read all at once. And because they read all at once, it takes a lot of training to get it to where it's actually forming sentences correctly. And now it basically has the knowledge of the internet embedded within its network. It's neural network. And neural doesn't mean that it's based on neurons. It's based on our understanding of neurons in the 1960s. Things have changed since then.
Yeah.
Neurons are about 1,000 times more complex than we thought they were.
Well, and what I'm not to cut you off here, but
Go ahead.
I'm kind of getting like, because I'm going back to the SEO thing here, right? Because it just strikes me just by going through this, like it strikes me that we could use this tool in the course of maybe just a couple hours, write 5 or 6 blog posts with a bunch of links that are linking to each other, right? Because this could be a blog post in and of itself, and how to get data so that you can land the sponsors. And then you could have backlinks that link to the other blog posts and kind of link them all together, which is great for SEO, right?